The biggest winter storm of the season is on the way, and we're here to give you all the new information that we have on it. We're going to cover the central U.S. first, and then we'll cover the eastern U.S. next. And after that, I'm going to speak on how the pattern remains very favorable for winter weather, specifically for the South as we get into late next week, around this time, but next week into next weekend. So I do want to speak on that, but I'm not going to get overly detailed on it because it is still far out and we got a monster winter storm right out ahead of us we need to figure out first, but I will speak on it. My name is Mitch. Good Thursday evening. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there and have had a wonderful week so far. Subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please drop it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So let's go over who has winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories, watches, even ice storm warnings. So we'll start off in the central U.S., and timestamps are below the video in the description. So if you want to skip to the eastern U.S. and it doesn't pop up on the video itself, been having some issues with YouTube with that, then just look in the description below the video and you can click on that timestamp, skip ahead to whatever you want to watch and listen to. So winter storm warnings are up in the pink. I mean, this includes the Dallas-Fort Worth area, almost all the way down to San Antonio, but it doesn't quite get that far. San Angelo up to Amarillo includes areas of New Mexico. The entire state of Oklahoma, except one county, is under a winter storm warning. We got several parishes here in northern Louisiana that has winter storm warnings, and even a few in the northeastern areas of the state with ice storm warnings in this purple color. Now, if you look in this teal color, this is where we still have winter storm watches in effect, and we could have upgrades sometime tonight to either winter weather advisories, ice storm warnings, or winter storm warnings. But we got either an ice storm warning or a winter storm warning up for the entire state of Arkansas, but a few counties have ice storm warnings, and I really think that this could be the worst of the ice storm kind of corridor right here in Mississippi. You see this purple area? These are ice storm warnings. I mean, you don't see that much unless the confidence is extremely high that the dominant precipitation is going to be freezing rain, and it is. It's pretty high here. So we move it up the board here, move it further to the north. Winter storm warnings have been expanded all the way up into Kansas, all the way up into Kansas City. St. Louis, you have winter storm warnings now in all of the southern half and central areas of Missouri. Now, we could see some winter weather advisories expanded to the north, maybe even winter storm warnings expanded to the north, but in this kind of area right here in purple, these are winter weather advisories. You're on the most far north end of the precipitation. Plenty cold enough, you're just not getting enough moisture up in this region to pump out winter storm warnings. So let's go over all the model data that we have, and we're going to start off with the GFS this time. And I'm going to talk about why, as we move throughout the video, why I'm going to do that. But I'm going to show you the latest Euro too. So we'll start off all model data with around 6 to 7 p.m. tomorrow night. I mean, this thing is starting tomorrow. It's right out in front of us. We're 24 hours out now. So tomorrow night, around this time, we got a winter storm breaking out. Moisture begins to develop, and this is really starting to trend to two separate waves. And we actually could get a little break between each wave. And the pink is freezing rain. Any kind of orange you see, that's sleet. The blue is snow. The green is rain. So as we progress this forward, we start to get into Saturday morning. An all-out winter storm of freezing rain and sleet's breaking out across northern Texas. Sleet and snow across Oklahoma. All snow in Kansas. It's just how far north does this precipitation actually get. We got just a heavy sleet, heavy snow moving into Arkansas, snow moving into southern areas of Missouri, and then we start to progress this into about Saturday midday. And look at all that orange. That's a lot of sleet. I think someone's just going to get a big sleet storm. South of that, a big ice storm. North of that, a big snowstorm. And then there's going to be areas that's going to get a combination of everything. But this is heavy sleet in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All snow up here in Oklahoma City. It's snowing very hard in northern areas of Arkansas. And look at this just ice storm breaking out across northern sections of Louisiana. All sleet in northern Mississippi. Freezing rain getting pretty far south. And then we start to get into Saturday evening. Now, you see this break here? This is something to watch. It's almost like two waves are separating themselves. So you might think it's over. Well, it's not. I mean, look at this corridor of freezing rain here. That is some heavy freezing rain. But when we start to get into like early Sunday morning, and here comes round number 2. Like I said, it's kind of separating itself now. That's a bit of a trend that we've been seeing, a change that we've been talking about. And all of a sudden, this winter storm ramps up again. Such a long duration event. So at this point, this has been going on for some areas Friday, starting tomorrow, and it's still going on Sunday morning. And then we start to progress into Sunday morning here, and we're getting freezing rain trying to drop all the way down to Corpus Christi, Houston. And it might end to some snow in certain areas where the dominant precipitation might be sleet and freezing rain. And then it wraps up. In fact, it has some lingering snow flurries, snow showers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's going to be a big winter storm for that area and surrounding regions. And then it's done. What about the latest Euro? Okay, same thing. We started off Friday afternoon. The Euro never shows sleet. So I'll try to explain where I think sleet's going to be as we make our way throughout the video. But as we start to move, we start to get into late tomorrow night. And you can see the freezing rain breaking out across southern areas of Oklahoma, central and northern Oklahoma, to Kansas, all snow. And then we move forward. And you can see a little bit of orange popping up, that sleet. But this is Saturday morning, early morning. It's all freezing rain in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and southern areas of Oklahoma. Kind of a mixed bag in Little Rock, Shreveport, all freezing rain. And you get a front-end thumping of snow based off what the Euro shows for Memphis. It starts off as snow and then quickly goes to a nasty, icy mix. Now, I do think, for example here, this is Saturday afternoon. I think this area in pink right here could be more so sleet. But we'll see. And if you see, the colors are starting to kind of get doled out here. That's that little bit of a break in the precipitation. And then it fills in again. Then you see the darker colors, the darker pinks, the darker blues showing up again. And the whole entire axis of the storm goes from a flatter look to more of a southwest-northeast look, which means the system's digging. And we got a strengthening storm system. So it's starting to get poleward, starting to get further north, and really starting to turn up here. So this is all freezing rain in Shreveport. At this point, all freezing rain from a corridor from Dallas. Austin, Dallas, all the way to the Little Rock. Fayetteville is trying to switch to freezing rain southeast Oklahoma. Shreveport into Memphis. Rain, sleet, I would say rain, freezing rain down to Jackson. And, then some cold air filters in. And if you do switch to rain in some areas in Mississippi, you're probably going to end as some winter weather. Long duration event, guys. And then it finally wraps up Sunday evening. So we're not quite in range, in a reliable range, and just a full entirety range of these short range models. So I don't have them up yet. Now, we're going to section out each little area. So obviously, if you live in Arkansas, just kind of scoot the video through a little bit. I'm not going to have a timestamp for every state. That would be ridiculous. But we're going to section out some areas here. So this is Kansas. This is how much snow they're expecting. Let's see if we have a new update here. No, nothing changed. This is how much snow they're expecting between now and Sunday evening, which is basically the entirety of the event. So, basically anywhere from a few inches in the northwest portion of the state to several inches, over a half a foot in the southeastern areas. I'm not expecting any ice here. And here's a look at what the Euro is showing for this area. And the latest Euro, man, why does it do that? The latest Euro, man, it really, really hits central to eastern, southeastern, southern areas of Kansas with over a foot of snow. So it's a little bit higher than, say, the National Weather Service forecast. The GFS, I'll show you that too, and it's just a little bit further to the south. Okay, no ice expected here. Now, this is when we can get in some ice. National Weather Service forecast for Oklahoma, northern areas of Texas shown in here too, and it shows other states, but I'm going to take a closer look at some of these states here in a second. This is really for Oklahoma, and I'm going to show you some graphics that actually has town names, city names on them, probably starting tomorrow. We're in full range of some of these graphics. I love showing those. It takes just a ridiculous amount of time to pull up, but I think when it shows town names, it's better for everybody, right? But look, you can tell how on the National Weather Service forecast for snow between now and Sunday evening, the northern half of the state, 12 inches of snow. Southern half, 3 to 5 inches. And then Oklahoma City kind of right in the middle. You can see there's some disagreement between National Weather Service offices here on their graphics. It's kind of a glitchy look here. But this is the look for that. Now, what about ice? Northern half of Oklahoma, I think you're all right. The southern half of Oklahoma, that's when areas could get 1/4 of an inch of ice or more. Anytime you get over 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain, then you're going to run into issues. And there's going to be some sleet in here too, but it kind of combines snow with sleet when you look at these snowfall graphics. And then you look at stuff like the Euro. What does it show? This is the Euro run. This goes all the way out to about Monday. And it wants to hit Oklahoma City with 1.5 feet of snow. So it's a little bit different than National Weather Service forecast. And it has this axis of very heavy snow south of Amarillo, right through the heart of Oklahoma, and it significantly drops off the totals down here. And then you look at the GFS run, what does it show? It has more of a zonal look to it, but I mean, I really think they'll increase the totals in Tulsa and Oklahoma City in later outlooks. The National Weather Service, only about a half a foot right now in Oklahoma City, for example. But man, look how the GFS hits eastern areas of Oklahoma with 1.5 feet of snow. So, yeah. Now, you look at the National Weather Service forecast currently for Texas, of course. Northern areas of Texas going to get a few inches of snow and sleet. Dallas-Fort Worth, I think this will be more so sleet. Then it dramatically begins to cut down when you get into central areas of Texas. And then once you get down to Houston and Corpus Christi and like San Antonio, not near as much. Now, this is the freezing rain totals, guys. Just ridiculous freezing rain totals. I mean, you got some areas that are showing over 1/2 inch of freezing rain. That's when you start to get widespread power outages. But look here in the eastern areas of the state. And this only goes out to about Sunday evening. I think that the system is still kind of in place across eastern areas of Texas, not completely done, but that's 0.8 of an inch of freezing rain. That is catastrophic criteria with ice storm. I mean, that's not good. And then, I mean, Dallas-Fort Worth area, 1/4 to 1/2 inch of freezing rain, and we're going to get sleet and snow mixed with this. But, you know, you look here at the National Weather Service forecast for snow. I'm sorry, the Euro run for snow. And, you know, it pretty much has the gradient just about there, just like the National Weather Service does. And then the GFS certainly brings more snow into the picture here. But honestly, it fits right into the National Weather Service forecast here. You got more snow the further north you move, except it just has this little area right here, which the Euro kind of shows this too. Now, you look up into Missouri. This is between now and Sunday evening, and northern areas of the state, few inches of snow. You get to the central to southern areas of the state, 8 to as much as 1 foot of snow, 8 inches to over 1 foot of snow. And I think some areas will overachieve in this region. Freezing rain, yeah, maybe a little bit in the Buda, Missouri. I think it's possible. But for now, I don't think freezing rain is a big deal at all in the state of Missouri. Now, you do look at some of these individual graphics here. This is the latest Euro run for Missouri, and it brings a swath right through Springfield, right up into Columbia, right into St. Louis of 1 foot of snow. This is really trending into a much bigger deal for these areas. So it's a lot of snow, and then you look at the GFS, what is it showing? And not as amped up. Really keeps it for the southern areas of Missouri. And part of me, I don't know, part of me wants to go more towards the GFS. I think the Euro is just too amped up, but I could be totally wrong. And then you look at the National Weather Service forecast for Arkansas. See if anything's changed here. No, it has not. Arkansas is going to be a high impact state, folks, because you're going to get the combination of sleet, snow, freezing rain, all in the entirety of the state of Arkansas. So, but I think the storm is still going Sunday evening for certain areas of Arkansas. So the Ozarks, the northern areas, is going to get 8 to 12 inches of snow and sleet. The central areas is the battleground here. Little Rock, get down to El Dorado, I believe. Listen, this is going to be an area that is going to get a combination of everything. You get more freezing rain once you get down here, and then look at western areas of Tennessee going for 4 to 5 inches of snow and sleet in Memphis, and then significantly more once you get to the northwestern areas of the state here. But you look at the freezing rain totals, and they are absolutely ridiculous. Oh, they're calling for over 1 inch of freezing rain right here where Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana kind of connect here. And there is a stripe that goes all the way to almost northwest areas of Alabama. 1 inch of freezing rain, guys, would cause widespread power outages. And we know it's a jungle down here in the south. This would be historically bad if this verifies. But they're going for some just diabolical ice totals from down here. And it makes sense because it has this area staying below freezing, you getting 2 huge waves of freezing rain and sleet. So, I mean, man, that is crazy amounts from the National Weather Service. And then you look at, say, snowfall in this area. And let's look at this snowfall graphic for this area. I mean, it really isn't showing any snow for southern areas of Arkansas, and it keeps it all in the northern areas and shows a few inches of snow and sleet into Memphis. But then you look at the GFS, and this is when things start to get a lot different here. I mean, it almost brings a half a foot of snow into Little Rock. And this is where you have some big disagreements in like Western Tennessee, Western Kentucky. I mean, a half a foot, 5 inches in Memphis, and then you head on up the road to like Dyersburg, over a foot of snow. So some big differences here. And I do want to mention the sleet in these areas, and I should have showed it for Texas too. But there is going to be a huge amount of sleet in this area. Now, do I think we're going to have 5-6 inches of sleet? I don't. But I think the GFS has the right idea that there is going to be sleet in this area. So, I mean, who gets saved with sleet? For example, there's probably going to be an area, I am betting, that thinks they're going to get a catastrophic ice storm, forecast to get a catastrophic ice storm, and might get saved by sleet. That is something to watch out for. Now, you bump it up into Illinois, and National Weather Service forecast between now and Sunday evening, over a half a foot of snow once you get into this purple area, points south, a lot of snow, and they're even going for over a foot once you get into the southern areas of the state. No freezing rain expected here. Going for a few inches of snow in Chicago, but you do look at the latest Euro, and almost gives you about 6 inches in Chicago, and has the axis of this heaviest snow a little bit further to the north. So, dropping half a foot total is a little bit far to the north here. So hopefully you know where you are on the map. But then you look at the GFS, and it is definitely further south. Keeps the heaviest stuff in the southern areas of the state. Now, the cold temperatures to follow, folks, are going to be ridiculous. I mean, some areas might get 10 below zero in like Arkansas and Oklahoma. We're going to get single digits all the way into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is Monday morning low temperatures. I think this needs to be discussed a little bit. Just really, really cold temperatures. And even Tuesday morning, I mean, we got single digits as far south as northern Louisiana. So very, very cold temperatures to follow, and then things start to moderate after this. So, let's talk about the eastern U.S. So let's start off with watches, warnings, and advisories, and let's update this to make sure it hasn't changed here. And I don't think a whole lot's changed since I pulled up all the graphics here. But this is the watches, warnings, and advisories. Winter storm watches, though, have been expanded into Atlanta, into the Columbia area now. We have just winter weather advisories up in this kind of shade of purple here in northern Alabama. But this shade of purple here, like the actual purple, those are ice storm warnings. But we're going to see, are we going to get upgrades to ice storm warnings in like the upstate of South Carolina, northern Georgia, or winter storm warnings? What's going to happen on the kind of I-20 corridor also? It's a big question. And then we bump it up the road, and let's update this, see if we've had any changes. But winter storm warnings now extend, been upgraded from watches from the Nashville area, pretty much to the entirety of the state of Kentucky. Still a couple areas, but you guys will be upgraded. Winter storm watches all the way up to Indianapolis, Dayton, Louisville, winter storm warnings. And you got winter storm watches all the way up to Cleveland now. And then you see, you can see the Piedmont, North Carolina. And yeah, it's game on, guys. It's on the way, West Virginia, entire state, winter storm watches. Then you bump it up into the Northeast. And I do think I cut a couple people off in the Mid-Atlantic. But winter storm watches up for most of the Mid-Atlantic. And then, it's on the way for the Northeast too, guys. So let's break down some model guidance. Let's go over the GFS first. And the thing that's changed is kind of the 1-2 punch of precipitation. And then the slowing trend of this. Does this really affect anything as far as temperatures? I don't think so, but we need to watch this trend and how it does affect things downstream. So we're going to start off Saturday morning, this coming Saturday morning, and this is around 7 a.m., 6, 7 a.m. So snow in the blue, pink is freezing rain, orange is sleet. So we start to move into about midday Saturday. We got a big winter storm moving into Tennessee. We got snow moving into Kentucky, moving into southern areas of Illinois, Indiana. And then, as we're getting into Saturday evening, some sleet, freezing rain begins to move into the Atlanta area, to Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte. I think you're going to start off with a very heavy wintry mix. I cannot even begin to really try to explain to you guys how heavy of a front-end thumping this is going to be Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening for Tennessee into Kentucky. You are going to start off just like that with just extremely heavy snow, and sleet, in my opinion. We call it, you can almost call it frontogenesis. I think we're going to have some thunder snow and thunder sleet in some of these areas. But then we start to move into late Saturday night. This is when the storm really cranks up east of the mountains. And we're just going to get a big-time ice and freezing rainstorm across areas of the upstate of South Carolina. It's freezing rain in Huntsville, Florence, Atlanta. And then we start to get the freezing rain creeping up into like the eastern areas of Tennessee. And then we start to move into Sunday morning. And I mean, I think the GFS has the right idea with the precipitation and the cold air extent to the south. It has freezing rain almost as far south as Macon. I mean, it almost keeps it all sleet in Columbia. Charlotte, this is all sleet. Huge sleet storm across North Carolina, upstate South Carolina. This is heavy snow moving into the Ohio Valley. And then Kentucky, snow moving into southern Ohio. I'm trying to mention every state, guys. It's so hard when everything's flooding to your head at one time. But the Mid-Atlantic, heavy snow moving into the picture. And then we continue to move into about midday Sunday. Any kind of sleet begins to switch to that freezing rain in the pink. And you even start to get mixing issues almost all the way up to the D.C. area. And look at this warm nose sneaking into northwest Georgia, northeast Alabama, into the Chattanooga area that tries to switch you guys to rain. And this is just a weird look. And you might think, why in the world is it doing this right here? Well, this is because cold air is filtering in from a high pressure right here. And then you got a low pressure right in here throwing a lot of warm air, not just a lot, but at the surface. And then back behind it, the reason you're keeping winter weather is because cold air is filtering on the backside of the system. A lot of stuff going on here. But you continue here. You can see the low pressure trying to pop up and cruise through central Georgia and the low country of South Carolina. Look at this massive winter storm breaking out across the northeast. And then we start to get into Monday morning and then Monday evening, and this thing finally tapers off. And then it's the latest Euro. It continues just to show a more amped up scenario, but here comes round number 1. It barely wants you to start it off as snow or sleet in Tennessee. It just goes right to freezing rain. And then we start to take it into about Sunday morning. This is a major ice storm from northern Georgia, upstate of South Carolina, into the entire state of North Carolina. All snow in the mid-Atlantic, northern Virginia. And then it tries to switch you guys to just straight freezing rain in southern areas of West Virginia, the entire southern half of Kentucky. And look at that huge, just warm nose, actually trying to switch you guys to rain in Nashville. I don't buy this. I do not at all. But I don't want to get too caught up into that right now. But a huge snowstorm moving into the northeast. But it even tries to mix you guys. It tries to switch heavy snow to a straight ice storm in the D.C. area. And I just don't buy it. I buy more so what the GFS is showing. And people are going to say, Mitch, you dog the GFS. Well, it's still guidance, and I favor it here. I think there is areas in northeast Georgia, the upstate of South Carolina, the Piedmont of North Carolina, where your local sources are telling you a huge major ice storm is on the way. And I think that's what you should tell people. But because a lot of guidance backs it up. But I also think, mark my word, could be totally wrong. And I don't want to lead anybody astray. But you see this area right in here? I think this area into the Carolinas is going to go into the storm thinking they're going to get a massive freezing rain ice storm. But I think you could get saved by the bulk of the precipitation being sleet, those little ice pellets instead. Believe it or not, it can sleet so much that it looks like snow on the ground. Except you pick it up and it just, it's like Dippin' Dots, except it's hard, doesn't melt. So that's my take. And sleet does not stick in the trees. Okay, snow does and freezing rain does, especially freezing rain. So I know I got hung up on that, but I just want to explain it. Now let's talk about snow totals. You're not going to get much snow in this area, but I do want to mention Tennessee. You can see the snow here, a few inches. Nashville going just for 3 to 4 inches of snow. This is between now and Sunday evening, so it could still be snowing in this area. And then you look at freezing rain, and there's kind of that weird little dip, and then it comes up and drops 0.3 of an inch of snow in Nashville. And you have this weird look where it goes like this, and then it kind of bowls out over northern Georgia. Why is it doing that? Well, that's because a low pressure tries to plow right in Alabama, brings a lot of warm air aloft, and then it hits the cold air damming and actually tries to displace this low pressure. So it's almost like a low pressure is trying to cut up through here, right? It kind of comes up through here, okay? Brings a huge warm nose right all the way up into the Tennessee Valley, and then it hits this boundary here, and it tries to plow right into this boundary, but instead it dips out. So that's something we watch here. But yeah, guys, I mean, a lot of freezing rain in this area, and I will show you what the Euro is showing as far as snowfall in this region. And I mean, it pretty much matches up pretty well with the National Weather Service, honestly. And here comes a highly interesting area. This is the National Weather Service as far as their forecast snow and ice totals. I want to mention that even into the upstate of South Carolina, you know, they bring about an inch and a half of sleet and snow. Same thing with Charlotte, getting into Shelby. I mean, but it's weird. They're not showing hardly any of that into the mountains, and that's because this is a purely cold air damming driven event, meaning cold air is really freezing everything up at the surface big time east of the mountains. So you're getting kind of some of these weird valley areas where this cold air damming cannot get in, and you just don't get much of any snow and sleet with this. And that's why if you're a winter weather fan, you live in eastern Tennessee, you know, extreme southwest North Carolina, this ain't working out for you because you got a huge warm nose hitting this region. But, you know, you get into North Carolina here, northwestern sections of the state, a few to several inches of snow and sleet is expected. This area right here, though, the big concern here, folks, is the freezing rain. I mean, they are now going for almost a quarter of an inch now in Columbia, which has bumped their totals up. Atlanta, about 0.2 of an inch of freezing rain. But you get into the northeast areas of Georgia, into the upstate of South Carolina, through Charlotte and the Piedmont. This is where this cold air damming event is going to try to hang around the longest, right into here. Okay, so you're going to get a half an inch of freezing rain. In some areas, you're probably going to get like 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain. But I think some of these areas into here could be saved by sleet. So I'm not gonna tell you to bet on it happening because I don't want to lead anybody astray. But I think sleet is going to cut down on these totals. That's just my take. Could be totally wrong because this is an awfully strong warm nose, but I am thinking some sleet cuts down on some of these totals. But we'll see. Now we get into the Euro, we talk about snow totals and all this. I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot in this area. Some backside snow could get it, but this is really going to be for the northern areas of Kentucky. You can see it up here, but there's a tight gradient in the state of Kentucky where the southern areas hardly nothing. The northern areas, it goes from a 1/2 foot to 1.5 feet fast. This is just model data. This is not the exact forecast. That other graphic I showed you is. But you know, you look at the GFS and look at this. It wants to bring light. It's a totally different story because it has back end snow it has snow at the back end of this. But it has a corridor from Kentucky up into West Virginia where it drops almost 2 feet of snow. Delivers a lot more snow for eastern areas of Tennessee. You know, it's a tricky setup, guys. It really is. And, you know, we got to watch this area too because, you know, a few inches of snow with freezing rain in this area could be a big deal. And then we look into the Midwest Ohio Valley. I mean, it's going to be all snow up here. It's pretty cut and dry. This goes between now and about Sunday evening. And you're going to get this swath from 8 to 12 inches of snow more than likely. And it could be still snowing in this area, especially in Ohio at this point. But a lot of snow's on the way for these areas. Southern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern half of Ohio, northern areas of Kentucky. Just a lot of snow. Freezing rain, you know, I would watch out for southern Kentucky. Some areas could definitely get over 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain. But then you look at some of these totals off like the European model run, guys. Let's look at this. And, man, it just goes crazy with the snow through the areas of the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Folks, I mean, it's really trended into a huge snowstorm. Brings almost 1 foot of snow up into Indianapolis. And look at all the snow in Ohio. I mean, even brings over 1/2 foot up into the Detroit area. And then you look at the GFS and you're going to see the big difference here. Look how everything shifts to the south. So still big disagreements here with the GFS and the Euro. And then we look at the Mid-Atlantic. This is another area that's going to get hit hard. And this is only through Sunday evening. Remember, the storm is still going, but this is the National Weather Service forecast between now and then. And I mean, they're going for 9, 10, 11 inches of snow and sleet in the Washington, D.C. area. And look at the mountains of West Virginia and Virginia. I mean, look at these totals, the Delmarva. You get down to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, just a few inches. But you're going to see when I pull up the freezing rain here, look how the freezing rain totals kind of creep up into the Richmond area, where you can get 4 tenths to a half an inch of freezing rain, just huge totals. And I mean, you get 8 inches of snow in DC, with a crust of sleet, and you get the freezing rain too. That's a huge deal. And I mentioned this, and I hate to have to go back because I forgot to bring it up. It happens sometimes, but I do want to mention the sleet, because I just mentioned sleet like crazy, and I forgot to pull up the sleet graphic. But look at the sleet for this area. And this is what I'm saying. I really think that, I don't think we're going to get 3 to 4 inches of sleet, in my opinion. We could in this area that you're seeing here in the Carolinas, Georgia, et cetera, up into Virginia. But I think it has the right idea that there will be a lot of sleet. The GFS does. So let's go on and bump it back up here. But we pull up the snow graphic for this region, and we pull it through, and this is the Euro. It doesn't. This is why I don't think the National Weather Service continues to buy the Euro, because the Euro doesn't have near as much snow as the National Weather Service does for areas in the Mid-Atlantic. It really, the Euro just comes up and absolutely crushes the Northeast with a ton of snow. I mean, 1 foot to 2 feet totals up here. But the GFS bogs it a little bit more to the south, but still crushes the Northeast. So, and then we kind of do the final tally here and look at the Northeast. I don't want to leave you guys hanging, but this only goes out through Sunday evening. So the storm is just getting going up here. But I mean, they're already going for a half a foot of snow into Boston at that point. And you can see New York City already just through Sunday evening getting 10, 12 inches of snow. Look at Delaware here, a lot. And this storm is just getting going. I'm not too worried about freezing rain up here, but if you do look at the European model run here, extend this. Oh my gosh, like look at this. Everybody's so focused on the south, and I know, rightfully so, because we're never prepared for the winter weather down here, but this is going to be one of the biggest winter storms of the season for the Northeast. I mean, look how much snow it's trying to print out between now and Wednesday. And this is the GFS, kind of the southern outlier, but it still crushes the Northeast with a ton of snow. So, and we look at temperatures. This is Tuesday morning. We're going to have very cold temperatures, going for 5 degrees in Charlotte, 8 degrees in the Greenville-Spartanburg area. Just very cold temperatures. You're probably going to get below 0 in Nashville, and things begin to moderate after that, but still very cold mornings out ahead. It's going to be a cold week next week, and that's the thing is, there's so much to talk about. I really want to get into next week, but as far as the pattern in the whole, but let's discuss it a little bit at least, right? So this is the Euro. This is where we're going to talk a little bit about next week's pattern. So we're going to start off with next Friday, the 30th. And this is kind of a broad look at it, so it might be kind of small on your screen, but you're going to see a winter storm breaking out across Texas. Now, by the time we're done with this winter storm out ahead of us, we'll be well inside 7 days. So if this continues to show up over the next few days, then it's got legs. But you continue to move forward, and that is a winter storm breaking out across areas of the deep south. The cold air press is so strong it actually gets suppressed as we're getting into Sunday and delivers some snow into South Carolina. But you got a bomb of precipitation right off the coast of the southeast just ready to do its thing. That's the Euro. What about the latest GFS? Same thing. This is Friday. It doesn't really have that blob of precipitation. In fact, it wants to pop off a low in the northeast Friday morning and bring a snowstorm. Well, we move past this and it fires up everything a little bit later. We get into Saturday morning, next Saturday morning, and look at the snow breaking out all the way along the Gulf coastline. And then it gets sheared apart because the cold air press, and then it tries to fire it up again. And as we get into the first couple of days of February. And then you look at the Canadian run. So even though it didn't show much there, their energy is there. Something is lurking, I'm telling you. Then we look at the Canadian model run for next Friday, and we move forward. There's a system there. And it brings a winter weather event across the southeast and the deep south. It's a little bit more amped up, and it's starting to turn into a huge low pressure here off the coast of the southeast. But then you look at some of this AI guidance. And it has a big area of precipitation here developing Friday. And in fact, the cold air press is so intense, it suppresses this. And this is only showing precipitation, but that is heavy snow in southeast Georgia and over Jacksonville, Florida. That is a snowstorm. You look, and let's just move it all the way forward. And I mean, this is almost a huge snowstorm for the southeast. In fact, you look at the snowfall here. You see that little area of snow right here? It is snowing along the Gulf coastline. And you look at the Euro AI model run, has the system here of next Friday night and Saturday, but the cold air press suppresses it downward and it isn't able to really move inland. So there is energy lurking there with a lot of cold air. And I mean, guys, I know I'll look at this really fast here. The cold air coming is intense, guys. I mean, this is just the cold air for next week. But then look how it just gets even more intense as we're getting the last couple of days of January. This is a week from today. Winter ain't going nowhere. I mean, it lasts all the way into early February. So the pattern is going to be favorable, I think, specifically for the deep south and the southeast and the actual coastline areas. For maybe a classic Miller 8, we got to figure that one out. So, hey, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and we'll do it all again tomorrow morning.